Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Winning at Life podcast with Gregory Ricks. We bring this show to you every Wednesday at 3 p.m. is when an episode releases. Got a great show for you here today. I've got Pat Huber with firstsouthland.com. And they're kind of in the land, money, helping you acquiring it. And I got to know him, and I'm going to tell you about that story, but that's our topic today. If you've ever thought about, like, gosh, I'd like to have a farm. I'd like to buy a farm. Well, who loans it? Do I go to my bank? Do I go to my credit union? Maybe you ought to go to Pat. It's what I found out. But we're going to get a little bit into that, but just want to let you know we're here for you every week. And I want to talk about the show sponsors, J. Heath and Company CPAs. I think you ought to have some people helping you with your tax return. Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein. He's an important fellow in my life and has helped me personally on loans. But if you're looking to get a home, finance a home, do a refinance, I would reach out to over at Dwayne Stein at mortgagegumbo.com. W.J. Blanchard Law, a big part of what we do at Gregory Ricks Total Wealth has to do with estate planning. And I consider that part of the advanced planning. So that's how we utilize Wes. Another sponsor I have is I kind of hate mosquitoes. New Orleans Mosquito Joe helps keep them away from me. So that makes me a happier person when I'm wanting to hang out on the swing in the front yard. Spitali's Deli and Catering. That just became a mouthful there all of a sudden. Over in Metairie. Great place for food. JJS Audio and Video. Y'all know I've talked about Jeff and his crew of setting up communications, camera systems, audio, video. Hey, maybe even you might want a movie studio in your home. Pat Huber with First South Farm Credit is here in studio with us today. None of Winning at Life would be possible with iHeartMedia having a hand in it. And gosh, I can't forget about Gregory Ricks Total Wealth, financial planning, tax strategies, investment management, having that financial guide. Go to gregoryricks.com for more information on Gregory Ricks Total Wealth. Be sure to subscribe to the Gregory Ricks Total Wealth YouTube channel for on-demand financial content. That has turned out to be such a great go-to place. I use it. I go look at how-to videos, how to do things that I don't know how to do. And on the financial side, it's a great resource is our YouTube channel over there. New Winning at Life podcast episodes are posted every Wednesday at 3 p.m. And you can listen to the Winning at Life radio show on Saturdays on iHeartRadio. So go and download that iHeartRadio app as well. See, have I left out anything? Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification to be alerted whenever we release new content. And I've got old Chris, he's working on a lot of ideas for content and other things we're wanting to put out there. I've been talking to Pat Huber for a while about coming on our podcast, and because we wanted to get an episode of him aired on the Winning at Life radio show that airs on Saturdays. And I've talked to him for a while, but here I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory on how I got to know Pat. I know Dwayne Stein pretty good because met him and he was a guest on the show and became a regular guest on the Winning at Life show. And then at some point I suggested him, you're a pretty colorful fella in the mortgage business. Maybe you should have your own show. And guess what? He did. And then some time passed, but I got this urge one day. Stacy and I, like when we go out for rides, and we've got family and friends in Mississippi, and sometimes I like going down a country road, and I'm like, and the animals are interesting, trees. I'm like, maybe we ought to look at having some land. What's involved in getting some land? I had no idea. If we go to the history books, my great grandfather, Duckworth, was one of the largest landowners at one time in Mississippi. So, hey, maybe I had a little bit of it in my blood there for the interest in it there. And so I started exploring that. So I called Dwayne. Of course, Dwayne's helped me on mortgages for my home. That's the business he's in. But I said, if I'm interested in buying some land and if I need some help with the money, who do I go to? Do I go to you? Do I go to a banker? And he explained why he doesn't do that. That's kind of not his jam. And that's when I said, well, it might be in Mississippi, more likely not Louisiana, where I reside. And I said, that's kind of where I'm looking for help, but I don't have anything picked out. I'm just wanting a heads up to know who to call if I come across something I'm interested in. And that's when he shared with me, he said, you need to reach out to Pat Huber. He said, that's right up his alley, and he helps people with land across both of those states and maybe more. And we'll talk about that with him here today. So that's a little bit of backstory on how I was introduced to Pat. And yeah, I got to know him well because we worked on getting me a few acres. And I need a little bit of help on the money side of it. So, Pat, welcome to Winning at Life. I know this is your first time on there, so I'm so happy to have you here. We've talked about this for a while.
Yep, appreciate it. Glad to be here. Like you said, it's my first podcast I've done, so it ought to be interesting.
Yeah,
Looking forward to
and
it.
that's one thing. You are super knowledgeable, and I'll tell you, I refer to Pat as a friend. And we've become friends over this process, and he is just so comfortable to talk to. And the company, and there's a lot of words in it. Is it First South Farm Credit is the parent company?
Yes, that is our company, First South Farm Credit. Now, you
Yes.
referred to First South Land, and so that's our website, firstsouthland.com.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But y'all are a subset of the parent company, and how, because you were explaining to me kind of how you're organized, and there's some unique things about it.
Yes, so Farm Credit was born in 1916, okay, and it was set up by the federal government as a way to finance rural America. Back then, rural America couldn't get financing from banks and stuff like they can now. So the Farm Credit System was born, and it's a cooperative system. So if you're not familiar with that, basically in a co-op, the members, or in our case, our borrowers, own the company. And so when you made a loan with us, you bought a little bit of stock in First South, and now you're a borrower, but you're a member owner of our company too. And as you know, we share in our profits with our stockholders who are our borrowers. So we're able to return some money back to them every year.
Yeah, that sounds a little complicated. I'm being a share owner, part owner, but I do understand the co-op. So
Right.
I become a part of the group.
That's correct. And just like we have First South, there's about 15 associations like First South on the eastern part of the United States that we get our money from Ag First Farm Credit Bank in South Carolina. And just like y'all, so to speak, are our owners, the associations are the bank's owners. So it's a cooperative all the way through the system like that. And so basically people will invest in farm credit bonds just as like you invest in anything. And so it's, they base it on different bond yields and returns. And through the system, the money gets flowed from that investor down to you, the borrower, and in return, we make our profits, which flow back to the investors.
Yeah, one of the things to
So,
think about the co-op, though, that I thought was interesting is we get a portion of the profits, so to speak,
right,
because I got a little bit of money back last year, and I got an interest rate reduction. I'm like, who? Here's that. I do some banking now, and they hadn't like given me any dividends or anything from being a client, and they sure hadn't came in and said, "Oh, let's reduce your mortgage." Or
right. Well, in our system, our co-op system, so sometimes in a co-op system, the profits that they make may be reduced cost to the borrower, like in maybe an electrical co-op or something. It just reduces the cost of your electricity going forward. In our system, we basically take what we make for the year, okay, and then we have to keep what we need to pay everybody and cover our expenses. We keep what we need to maintain our balance sheet, meaning our capital level in the company, and basically return the rest in a nutshell to our owners, our investors, which are our borrowers. So that's how it works it's in a simple fashion, so to speak. It's kind of a confusing thing because not many people are familiar with it. And whenever I was talking to you and I was telling you about it, and you said, well, tell me what that means. Well, it means that we're going to make money, and next year we're going to send you back some money as a shareholder of our company. And you said, really? And you probably said, I wonder what kind of scam this is until it happened. And so it's
didn't think of it as a scam, but wasn't expecting anything.
Right.
And then, I remember like actually we were headed back to New Orleans, right down the road, and we get a call from your office explaining that this process was happening and we needed to sign off on something. There's a couple steps we needed to do, but we were kind of surprised by it, getting that dividend, so to speak. And then another time regarding, oh, yeah, you're we can reduce your mortgage
right.
if you sign this document. I seem to think there was a small fee or something, $50
Right.
or something. I'm not holding you to a number there or anything, but there was a little bit, couple steps, and it was worth our while.
Definitely. So, hey, we want to keep everybody's business. It's easier for us to maintain your business, so to speak, than maybe go get new business. And so during that time, rates dropped a little bit, if you remember.
Yep.
And so when the rates drop, we want to contact our members, our owners, and say, hey, the rate has dropped, and we can reduce your rate by whatever that drop is, and then just re-am your payments, basically just lowering your cost of borrowing money to us. And there's a small fee to do it, but it's no refinance or anything, and it's a win-win for you and for us.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, do you want to? When it came across to me, it's like, do you want to reduce it? Because you can. So we have to agree to reduce it.
Right.
Do you? I'm just wondering. You have anybody decline it? Say, nah, I'm good. You keep I'll pay the higher payment.
We have had people do that, and we cannot understand why. But we do have a few people that I guess maybe are just kind of skittish about what they're going to get involved in. They know what they have, and I guess they're a little skittish. But to us, we're in it every day, Gregory. So it seems different to somebody that isn't. But to us, it's almost a no-brainer if we're going to reduce your rate.
Yeah.
And save you X amount of money for the cost of your borrowing money to us. Less
Yeah,
interest
those
you're
were
paying
side
in.
benefits I didn't think about. I was just excited to get the land, get a little bit of help,
Yep.
get the land. That is just something cool to have, being I was able to do that.
Right.
Had reached that point in life and also had a want and kind of accomplished that. So tell about the broader view. So this isn't necessarily for you to go buy a house on country land, but this is more farming like,
Yes.
and it can have structures on it, but
Correct.
help describe your typical client.
So there is no typical client, so to speak, in farm credit, and
But what they're buying and holding or wanting is
that's right.
land.
And so we do land. Land is a very big portion of what we do, but we also do farming operations, finance farming operations,
Okay.
uh, equipment for farmers, anything agricultural wise. Now, when it comes to land, you know, most people are buying it for recreation, to hunt on, to enjoy, to have a place to get away on the weekends and stuff. That's probably the biggest clientele we see for the purchase of real estate and stuff. But I mean, it's other purposes too. It could be a need. So if you have cattle or something, well, you may need some land with pasture to put those cows on. It could be purely investment. Hey, I ran across this piece of land. It's got a decent price. I think it's going to appreciate through the years. Instead of putting my money in stock market or something else, I'm going to invest it in land purely as an investment. Some people use it as an income stream. So although I'm paying for it, if I can lease it out to a farmer or a rancher for hay or cattle, or lease it out for somebody wanting to hunt on it, things of that nature. So there's a lot of different avenues when you're looking at land, what you're wanting it for. But for the most part, people want it for recreation and hunting is what we see.
On the land that I have, there is that goes on in that area. But kind of what got my interest is the farming and animals, and
Right.
I don't do either of those. Haven't got that far, but I personally like the idea of holding it. And sometimes I look at it as maybe I'm just a holder for somebody else that's going to take it over in the future. I even look at that way on a classic car. I have a 53 Chevy truck. I said, that truck's been around longer than I have. And I look at it as, yeah, I'm going to hold it for a while, and then somebody else will eventually take over enjoying and taking care of the old truck there. It's a nice one, but it's old, so I wouldn't use it as my daily driver there, but it's my land, and I going to hold it for a while, hopefully for a long time. But one thing I think about, and I've talked to other friends, I've got some friends up in Missouri and Kansas that have some land, and they talk about it as well. And one of the things Jeremiah always said, it just gets handed to somebody and then it gets parceled up. He said, we're up here doing our best to try to keep it all together. And if a section comes open near me, I try to buy it. And then a week ago, I was talking with another friend that had one that he had two pieces, but the centerpiece was problematic getting put together because the guy died and then the children inherited it. They had other plans, but he eventually was able to buy it and keep it all put together. Do you see any of that going on how people look at it?
Yes. We're in the areas around here, especially on the North Shore, and you get in the outskirts of Baton Rouge areas and stuff, and you're having the urban sprawl, so to speak. People do need places to go, so you do need land to build a house or live on, whether that's a subdivision that somebody's going to put in or break off a few acres for their children or to sell. So you do see that land getting broke up and kind of really taken out of ag purpose and going more to a consumer purpose type of land or a commercial purpose type of land. For the most part, we do not do that. And that is one mission of Farm Credit, is for us not to finance the development of land out of agriculture into another use. And so, we do get people come to us and say, hey, I want to buy 20 acres. I'm going to bust it up into 15 lots and resell it and stuff. And, at that time we say, well, we're sorry, we're not
what you're into.
Your outfit for that, and try to steer them to somebody that would do that, so to speak. Like you mentioned, Dwayne, he steers people that call him to us and vice versa. You know, we don't do the homes and stuff like he does, so we'll steer people to him. Kind of a working relationship.
Yeah, we have another common friend that bought some land up there, and I think it was parcels, but his objective was to keep it all together,
Right.
and y'all were able to help him out on that as well. So if somebody's interested in utilizing you, one thing I stated is kind of like the process of borrowing money to buy a house. You got to get pre-qualified and so forth. All that's kind of similar, isn't it?
Very, very similar. I mean, we're loaning money out, and our number one goal is to get paid back.
Absolutely.
And stuff. So,
You're not giving it away.
We're not giving it away. And you know, we unfortunately sometimes you can't make a loan to people and things, but it's a simple process on our side, so to speak, but on the people who have not purchased it before or we're looking for financing, I could see where it can be a little cumbersome. But yes, just like a home loan, you basically locate your property and settle on a purchase price, and then you come to us, and then we'll give you the terms, the rates, which we're real flexible on. It's not so much like a house loan where it's kind of dictated. We're 1 to 30 years and anything between, and depending
Yeah,
on
your terms are a little bit different. You
Yes.
want to go over that a little bit?
Yeah, I can touch on that. So in our farm credit world, we can finance up to 30 years. And that can be a fixed term or amortization up to 30 years. But we can do anything from 1 day to 30 years, and in between. And then we're pretty much not a specific timeline of a payment period, meaning like a monthly pay or something like that. We're very, very good about trying to time your payment to when you get paid. And so we're in the farming world, we're in the ag world. Most farmers get paid when they sell their crop or they sell their cattle once a year, maybe twice a year. And so those people may have annual payments. If you have a business to where you receive money more so quarterly than you would monthly, then you may be on a quarterly pay system. So we got to time that payment to your income source. If not, you got to have late pays. You try to put somebody on a monthly pay that only gets paid yearly, and it's not going to work out, so to speak. So, but yeah, we customize it to however that person is going to best fit their needs and for them to pay us back. So,
Yeah, so
that's
this-
answering that question good, but
Yeah, it's good because it covers different situations and how, say, the farmer or business gets paid
Right.
as well.
yes.
This might be even where, say, somebody's passed away that has this. Y'all could come in and help the family maybe keep
Right.
the property or buy others out. No, because it's somebody, I could see a bunch of kids and not all of them
Correct.
want to. From our standpoint, I know we took Emily on a tour of the farm property. I thought it was pretty cool. She got to see a few bucks cross the road, a bunch of turkeys take off, and when we got back to the house after, she said, "You know what? I'm good." Because sometimes I'll invite, "Hey, you want to run out to the farm with me?" And she'll, and I just refer to the land as that. So that's what we call it. And she says, "No, I'm good." So, not all of them have an interest.
Right.
So her fiance, he's like, "Yeah, I'll go."
We do get into that. We had I give an example. We had a family to where I think there were 4 siblings, and then one of the siblings was not interested in the land. It's a pretty good estate that they had, and so the other 3 needed to buy that interest out, and so we loaned the 3 of them the interest to buy out the 4th one, and they basically are in an area that's pretty good with mills for timber and timber sales, and so we structured that loan according to the timing of those timber sale incomes to pay back. And so there was no monthly or quarterly or yearly type of payments. We required some interest payments, but the timing of the principal payment was coming from the timber sales.
Wow.
And so that's just an example of a further reached out type of situation that you might have.
Yeah, because I had never heard of you before Dwayne, before that idea came up, because Dwayne and I had never talked about land, who finance. I just assumed he did, but he didn't, or your banker. And I guess they could, but also folks just aren't aware of what you do in general. So that's also why I wanted you to come on the podcast and have our audience, which is pretty vast. I'm just surprised at who all listens to our show when I'm out meeting people, and they'll I had a guy working on a tractor farm, and he says, there's this guy I listen to on Saturdays, and he talked about what the guy talks about on the radio show, and he says, the coincidences, you sure sound like him. And then I said, well, actually, that is me. And he was working on a tractor that eventually I sold to him. That was funny how that worked out there. Pat, thank you for being on the show today. Once again, the phone number to reach you is 985-748-8655, correct?
Correct.
And the website is firstsouthland.com.
That's correct.
And of course, if you go, I didn't write it down. How do I reach this guy? Well, you go to, you call my office.
Correct.
And you know where I am, GregoryRicks.com. So once again, visit our website for upcoming events. Reach out to the firm to schedule a visit. Phone number, email, website. Phone number is 504-832-9200. The email is info@GregoryRicks.com, and you can email us for information about Pat as well. And the website is GregoryRicks.com. Once again, phone number 504-832-9200. We offer in-person and virtual meetings. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well for more information and content, and we're continually adding to that. Thanks for watching today, and tune in next week to another episode of the Winning at Life podcast. Hey, keep winning.